Hi everyone! Today we're going to make this adorable little robin egg gift box, and we're going to make it with some custom paper that we designed and created ourselves. Well, how exactly are we going to do that? One of the things I like to do when I get exposed to a new product is just make some custom paper with it. So today I'm using some products from Clearsnap. I'm going to use their Magic Stamp moldable foam stamps first, and I tried it out with a little beaded applique. I just heated it up with the heat gun, pressed it down with my hand, and voila! It came out perfect. So I looked around for some other interesting things to make into a stamp, and I found this little vintage piece of plastic flower, and I found that if you use a piece of wood instead of your hand, you get a more even pressed print, and you can see that one came out really good. I also wanted to use these vintage Indian fabric stamps I have, and I love the way this one came out. So I just grabbed a piece of beige cardstock and started stamping away. The first one I did was with a little rectangular one, and I went ahead, instead of using ink, I used some acrylic paint. And then another product from Clearsnap that I absolutely fell in love with is this rollograph. And this one I decided to do some embossing with. They have a great clear embossing glue called Top Boss. Just roll your rollograph on it. And you can see I just did 3 sort of broad strokes all the way across and embossed it. Then with my other little stamp, I put some smooch spritz on it, and I pressed it onto the paper, and it didn't have the 100% desired effect I had. It didn't come out as bold, but I think in the end it added a layer of silkiness to the paper that I think ended up coming out great. So to make my little box, I went ahead and cut out 2 6x6 strips of my handmade paper. And then I went ahead and used some spray adhesive, flipped it over, and attached some cardstock because I want my box to be heavier. This is some Graphic 45 cardstock. I'm going to use just a basic scoreboard, and if you don't have a scoreboard, you can use your bone folder and a ruler and just measure it out. And this is a little 2x2 box we're making. Now you can see I'm just scoring it where it tells you to. Make sure you're folding it, creasing it down really good. And then just snip it on both sides with your scissors right to the point, and then glue it together. I like to use hot glue when I'm making boxes. I find if you use adhesive runner, a couple hours later it'll start to pull apart, so use some hot glue. To make the lid, I want my lid to be a little bit smaller, so I went ahead and cut it a little shorter, but then it's a little tricky on the scoreboard. You got to find the middle point, and then since you know your lid has to be 2 inches, you're going to go ahead from that middle point and make a little X, mark it to the right. I make a little X with my pencil, and I can, erase it off later. And then I'm going to go 1 inch out on the other side and make another little X. So then no matter what size I cut my paper, I know my square is going to be in the middle. And don't forget, when you're doing the lids, line it up to where I've pointed to this little triangle, or else your box won't fit right. So then I went ahead, same thing, scored it all 4 sides, trimmed it, hot glued it, and then I went ahead and distressed it. I got my sanding block out and just distressed the edges. I thought it looked great. And for the next technique, I went ahead and took some scrap paper, brown, and went ahead and set it through my paper shredder. And then comes the fun part. You gotta crunch it all up, crumble it all up, roll it all up, get it nice and soft. You don't want it to be too stiff or it won't work. And then grab your gloves and pour some decoupage medium in your hand and just kind of start, smushing it all together. When you smush it all together, you're going to get everything wet and roll it into this really unattractive log. If your hands get sticky, get your gloves a little wet. Then take a piece of plastic or some wax paper and mold it into a little nest, and it'll stick just perfect. Then I took some more shred and I used it for box filler. Then I went ahead and ran some velvet trim around the top of the box using my hot glue gun again, and went all the way around. And then I added this little gossamer and rhinestone bow to the front. Then I put in my gift, of course, put the lid back on. And by now, my nest was dry, and I used some smooch glitz to kind of highlight some of the things to make it look sparkly. This is such a great technique. You don't have to get all messy with glitter. You can just dab a little bit on. It looks so sparkly. Of course, hot glue it back right down on top of the box. and then add some blue 10mm plastic beads for your robin eggs. And here's how it came out. I just love it. I went ahead and just punched out a tag for it really quick. I used a little bird stamp on my tag. I just think this really came out adorable. I love the natural look. Here's a close-up of the robin's eggs. Make sure the holes aren't showing. This is a close-up of the little rhinestone bow. And then the tag, like I said, I used my Clearsnap inks. And then I used this little stick and I wrapped my string around it, then pulled it through the hole and gave it a little extra natural effect. I think it's those little touch that makes handmade things so special. And I had 2 more pieces of paper, so I went ahead and made a matching box for it. I think they just came out adorable. If you want to learn more about these products, go to clearsnap.com or visit their blog at clearsnap at blogspot.com or inmyblueroom.com. And thanks for having